Have you ever heard a story that makes the hair on your arms stand up? One that feels so real you start looking over your shoulder? Well, let me tell you one from my childhood. It's not a fairy tale. This happened. I grew up in Odu, a small village nestled right against a thick, dark forest. Life was simple, but everyone, and I mean everyone, was terrified of one person, Mama Urine. The village whispered that she was a witch. You know how these things go, no real proof, just hushed stories and fearful glances. She lived by herself in a small mud house on the edge of the forest. No husband, no kids. It was just her and this weird black goat that followed her everywhere, like a shadow. I remember its eyes were an unsettling shade of yellow. Our king Obate was the opposite of Mama Urine. He was the son to her shadow, a proud, strong man, wealthy and handsome. Every young woman in Odu dreamed of being his queen. He could have had anyone, so you can imagine the shock that rippled through the village when he announced his bride-to-be. It was Niru. Now, how do I put this kindly? Niru was not who anyone expected. She was known as the ugliest girl in the village. Her teeth were stained a deep brown from chewing bitter cola all day. Her eyes were perpetually red and watery, and she walked with a pronounced limp. It just didn't make any sense. The king, our proud Obate, choosing Niru. People started whispering immediately. It was unnatural. My own mother pulled me aside, her eyes wide with fear, and said, "Don't ask questions. Stay quiet. This is Mama Urine's work." I was young and skeptical. A witch's spell. It sounded like something from an old folk tale. I didn't believe it, not for a second, but then came the night before the royal wedding. That was the night everything changed for me. My mother had sent me to fetch water from the stream, a chore I'd done 1,000 times. The moon was bright, casting long, spooky shadows through the trees. As I approached the stream near the edge of the forest, I heard voices. I ducked behind a large baobab tree, my heart pounding in my chest. And there they were, Mama Urine and Niru, standing under the gnarled branches of an old silk cotton tree. My blood ran cold. Between them, on the ground, was a small clay bowl. Something inside it was glowing with a faint, pulsing red light, like a dying coal. I watched, frozen in place, as Mama Urine slowly dipped her bony finger into the bowl. She then reached out and smeared the red substance onto Niru's forehead, right between her eyes. I couldn't move. I wanted to run, to scream, but my legs felt like they were rooted to the earth. Then Mama Urine started chanting. It was a language I'd never heard before, guttural and ancient. The words seemed to hang in the air, twisting the very fabric of the night. As she spoke, the wind began to howl, whipping through the trees. It wasn't a normal wind. It felt angry, alive, and carried on that wind. I swear to you, I heard a man's voice, a deep, hollow voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. It whispered a single, terrifying phrase, "He is yours now." The next day was the wedding. The entire village gathered, a mix of excitement and unease thick in the air. But when the king arrived, a hush fell over the crowd. He didn't look like himself. Obate, our vibrant, proud king, looked sick. His eyes were dull and lifeless, like a puppet's. He didn't smile, not even once. He just stared straight ahead. The ceremony was a blur of tradition and forced celebration. The moment that's burned into my memory is when they exchanged the marriage drink. As Neru took the cup, her face changed. Just for a split second, her eyes turned pitch black, like charcoal pits. Then, just as quickly, they were back to their usual bloodshot red. I looked around wildly, but nobody else seemed to have noticed, or maybe they were too afraid to admit they did. After that day, everything in Nodu fell apart. The king, our leader, became a ghost in his own palace. He stopped holding court meetings, stopped appearing in public. He was just gone. But the palace itself was far from silent. At night, the strangest sounds would drift out from behind its high walls. Sometimes it was crying, a man's desperate sobs. Other nights, it was high-pitched, manic laughter. And always there were whispers, countless whispers that seemed to slither through the air. The royal guards, brave men who had served for years, started deserting their posts. They'd flee in the middle of the night, their faces pale with terror, and never return. A few months passed like this, with the whole village holding its breath. Then, one morning, news spread like wildfire. Mama Urine was dead. They found her in her mud hut, lying on her sleeping mat, and right beside her, also dead, was her black goat, the unsettling part. Both of them had dried blood smeared around their mouths. The same night she died, a freak thunderstorm broke out directly over the palace. A single, massive bolt of lightning struck the roof, splitting the thatch and sending a plume of smoke into the sky. The next morning, the new royal guards cautiously entered the king's chambers. He was gone, vanished without a trace. The only person left in the entire palace was Niru. They found her sitting alone on the king's throne, a strange, triumphant smile playing on her lips. I still live in Odu. The palace stands empty now, a crumbling monument to a forgotten king. The village tries not to talk about what happened. We try to forget, but we can't, because sometimes when the moon is full and the wind is quiet, I can still hear it, a faint, lonely sound drifting from the edge of the forest, the bleating of a goat. Thanks for listening to my story. If you enjoyed this and want to hear more tales from the shadows, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. It really helps the channel grow. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you in the next one.